Good morning, children. This is lecture 1 of chapter Structure of Atom. In this lecture, we will study about the history of atomic structure. Maharishi Kanad, concept of Anu. Maharishi Kanad in 600 BC conceptualized that every matter is made up of very small indivisible particles. He called them as Anu. He also said that Anu can have two states, absolute rest and a state of motion. He only said that. This was the early Indian contribution to structure of atom. First, Maharishi Kanad said it, that the particles, the matter is made up of very small indivisible particles, and he named them as Anu. Next, in 460 BC, Democritus proposed the concept of atom. He pointed up materials in mortar and pestle and reduced them to smaller and smaller size till it could not be further reduced. Have you understood what it is said? He conceptualized that the matters are made of very small particles which could not be further broken, and he called them atoma. In Greek, atoma means indivisible. Okay, then after that, in 1808, John Dalton was a British chemist who proposed a theory for atom, which is popularly known as Dalton's atomic theory. Okay, and he gave some postulates. The postulates of Dalton's atomic theory are as follows. Number 1, all matters consist of small indivisible particles called atoms. Number 2, all atoms of a given element are identical in mass and chemical properties. All atoms of a given element are identical in mass and chemical properties. Number 3, while atoms of same element are identical in their physical and chemical properties, the atoms of different elements have different properties. Number 4, atoms of different elements combine to form a compound having different properties from the contributing elements. Again, I am reading. Atoms of different element combine to form a compound, and that compound is having a different properties from the contributing element. Number 5, atoms of different elements can combine with each other in simple whole number ratios to form compound. Number 6, atoms are smallest unit of a substance that can take part in any chemical reaction. Atom is the smallest part of a substance that can take part in a chemical reaction. And the last one, number 7, atoms can neither be created nor destroyed in a chemical reaction. They can only be rearranged. Now, all these 7 points you have to learn. This Dalton's atomic theory, the postulates of Dalton atomic theory is very important. So you have to learn the 7 postulates. The atoms were initially thought to be the smallest indivisible particles of matter. Initially the thought was like that, but later developments in late 19th century had shown that atoms were divisible and they comprised smaller subatomic particles, and you all know that those are the charged particles which we are calling electron, proton and neutron. Okay? Now let us see how these electron, protons, neutron discovered. So first let us start with the discovery of electron. Electrons were discovered by British scientist William Crook in 1878 through a discharge tube experiment. This is also known as cathode ray discharge tube. This is the tube. What is happening? A discharge tube is a sealed glass tube. You can see this tube, this one, this is the tube. It's a sealed glass tube that was partially evacuated to maintain a small pressure inside 0.01 millimeter of mercury. So it's a small pressure. So it is partially evacuated to maintain the small pressure. A high voltage is applied between the two electrodes. Electrodes, these are the electrodes. One is attached with the negative terminal of the battery and the other is attached to the positive terminal of the battery. Now see, this is the battery. Now this is the positive terminal of the battery and this is the negative terminal of the battery. The electrode which is attached to the positive terminal of the battery is known as anode, and the electrode which is connected with the negative terminal of the battery is known as cathode. Okay, and you can pass high voltage, you can pass electricity. So a high voltage is applied between the two electrodes, cathode and anode, placed at the two ends of this evacuated tube. This discharge tube is also called cathode ray tube. Okay. Crookes found that on application of high voltage, a ray comes out from the cathode. That means from here, from this. Okay. A ray is coming out. It is shown by the arrowhead, this side. Okay. From the cathode, that is the negatively charged electrode. I told you the cathode is the negatively charged electrode because it is connected to the negative terminal of the battery. Now, these rays were called cathode rays, which is coming out from the negative terminal of the battery. If you apply a high voltage, you will see that some rays are coming out from the cathode electrode. That means the negative terminal side, negative side of the electrode. And it is also known as negatively charged electrode. And these rays were called cathode rays, which was made by the flow of electron. Because the electrons are flowing, so this was made by the flow of electrons. Though William Crook discovered electron in 1878, but Sir J.J. Thomson in 1897, after the discovery of electron, said that the electrons have negative charge. William Crook discovered the electron. He said that the electrons are coming out from the cathode electrode, negatively charged electrode. But J.J. Thomson only said in 1897 that these electrons have negative charge. So for that, what he did, he carried out the same discharge tube experiment, the same experiment what is what was done by William Crook. But what he did, he placed a positively charged and a negatively charged plate in the way of the cathode ray as shown in the figure. Just see, he placed two plates, that is metal plate, positively charged metal plate and negatively charged metal plate. And the ray, the cathode ray are coming in this way. Okay. Now, he was observed that the cathode rays which are coming from here, they are moving towards the positively charged metal plate. Just see, the ray is moving this side. The ray is moving this side. The rays moved towards the positively charged plate from which it was concluded that the electrons have negative charge. So, cathode rays tube experiment done by first William Crook, he discovered electron and he said that the electrons are coming from negative electrode, not negatively charged, you can say negative electrode. But J.J. Thomson said that these electrons are negatively charged. Am I clear? Some properties of electrons. Electrons are negatively charged particle present in the atom that you all know. Next, electrons have fixed mass and carry definite electric charge. Number 3, the mass of an electron is 1 by 1837 of the mass of a hydrogen atom and is equal to 9.109 into 10 to the power minus 31 kg. Very negligible mass. Okay, so we are sometimes saying, that electrons having no mass. Okay, because it's very small, 10 to the power minus 31. The electrons carry 1 unit of negative charge. Electrons carry 1 unit of negative charge, which is equals to 1.602 into 10 to the power minus 19. They are present outside the nucleus of an atom and move around in its fixed circular orbit, which is also known as shell. Electrons can be shared, transferred among the atoms of different elements. An electron is denoted by E0-1, where subscript -1 represents its charge and the superscript 0 represents its mass. As I told you, the mass is in 10 to the power minus 31. So, we are saying that electrons are having negligible mass. Next is the discovery of proton. After the discovery of electron, it was logically deducted that there must be some balancing positive charge inside the atom. So, Ernest Rutherford in 1920 first proposed the term proton for the positively charged particle. In 1886, Goldstone demonstrated the presence of positively charged particle inside the atom. His experimental setup is shown below. Just see the figure. Now this is also a discharge tube experiment. Okay, see that. It was the same discharge tube experiment except only a perforated cathode plate was used in place of the cathode. See, this is the cathode. Okay, perforated cathode. Perforated means there are small holes. It is used like that. The cathode is used in this way, perforated. It was observed that while cathode rays emerged out from the cathode, when the cathode rays are coming out from the cathode, another bundle of rays emerged from the anode. That means from this side. From this side. See, these are the rays. These are the rays. The bundle of rays emerged from the anode that passes through cathode perforations. It is going through the cathode, that perforations are there in the cathode, and caused a red glow to appear at the cathode end. See, this is the red glow. As the rays, these rays are going from right to left. See, these are going from right to left. So these are coming from the anode and they are just passing through the perforations of the cathode, and there is a red glow is appearing at the cathode end. And these rays were called anode rays or the positive rays, which were nothing but the flow of proton. Am I clear? So the same discharge tube is taken. Now instead of cathode, we have taken a cathode with a perforation. Okay, perforated cathode plate we may call it. And then it was observed that while cathode rays were emerging, some rays were also emerged from the anode side, the bundle of rays, and it will go through the perforations of the cathode and a red glow is appearing at the cathode side. And these rays were called anode rays. They are positive rays which were nothing but the flow of proton. Properties of proton. Protons are positively charged particles inside an atom. The mass of proton is 1887 times that of the mass of an electron. So it is much heavier than the mass of an electron. A proton carries 1 of positive charge, which is equal to 1.602 into 10 to the power minus 19 coulomb. Okay. Mass of a proton is same as that of hydrogen atom and is equal to 1.67 into 10 to the power minus 27 kg. Protons are denoted as P1 plus 1, where plus 1 subscript represents the charge of proton and superscript 1 represents the mass of proton. So we cannot neglect the mass of proton. It is having a particular mass. And no two elements can have the same number of protons in their atoms. Is it okay? After the discovery of two fundamental particles, electrons and protons, now the discovery of neutron took place. In 1920, Rutherford predicted that there should be a heavy neutral particle inside the atom. In 1932, James Chadwick demonstrated the existence of such a neutral particle. Now what he did? In his experimental setup, he bombarded a beryllium sheet with alpha particle. Now beryllium sheet means it is a sheet made up of beryllium metal. Alpha particle is nothing but He helium 4-2, which is having two neutrons and two protons tightly bound together. That is helium alpha particle, helium nucleus, alpha particle, When you will go to the higher classes, you will learn about that alpha particle. Now for this class, up to this much is enough. He bombarded a beryllium sheet with an alpha particle. The emergent ray did not deviate from the path when passed through magnetic field. That means after bombarding the beryllium sheet with alpha particle, he got some rays. Okay, now when he allowed to pass that rays through magnetic field, he found that those rays are not deviated. These rays did not deviate. It is showing the neutral nature of those rays. And these particles was named as neutron. And you know, Chadwick got Nobel Prize for his discovery. Okay. Property of neutrons. The rays originating from the flow of neutrons has high penetration level. They remain unaffected by electric and magnetic field due to the neutral nature of the particle. The neutral particles have mass approximately same as that of hydrogen atom and is equal to 1.678 into 10 to the power minus 24 gram or 1.678 into 10 to the power minus 27 kg. A neutron is denoted by N10, where subscript 0 represents no charge and superscript 1 represents mass. After the discovery of electron and proton, scientists started thinking how these particles were arranged inside the atom. Several models were proposed based on available data. Though most of these models did not stand the test of time, but these were very important developments and acted as building block of a comprehensive model of atom. Okay. In our present lecture, we shall look into 3 such models. One is Thomson's plum pudding model, another is Rutherford's model of atom, and the third is modern model of atom, that is the Bose model of atom. First is coming Thomson's plum pudding model of atom. In 1904, J.J. Thomson proposed a very simple model of atom, which he named as plum pudding model. Now what is that? According to this model, atoms were uniform positive charge spheres in which you can see here, just look at here, it's a positive charge throughout the sphere. Okay, atoms were uniform positively charged sphere in which electrons are embedded. Just you can see that electrons are embedded and the whole is a positively charged sphere. Okay, and the electrons are embedded in that just like the plums in a pudding. Okay, pudding is the positively charged sphere and in that above that some electrons are embedded like plums. The arrangement of electrons and protons were in such a manner that made the atom as a whole neutral. But the atom is made in such a way that as a whole atom is made neutral. Thomson's plum pudding model failed. Why? As it could not explain the observations in Rutherford's famous gold foil experiment. In the next slide, we will see what is that. Okay, so this model failed. Now let us see what is Rutherford's gold foil experiment. In 1911, Ernest Rutherford carried out his famous gold foil experiment. The experimental setup has been shown below. This is the figure. You have to practice this figure. Now, a thin film of gold was bombarded. Now see, this is the gold foil that is bombarded with the alpha particle. Again, the alpha particle is here. That is doubly charged helium ion. It is also known as doubly charged helium ion, alpha particle. A zinc sulfide ring was placed around the gold foil. That means this green color is the zinc sulfide ring. That zinc sulfide ring, what is the function of that zinc sulfide ring? That is placed around the gold foil to detect the scattered alpha particle. Now, zinc sulfide shows fluorescence when hit by charged particle. Okay. If the fluorescence is there, then you can understand that the charged particles are scattering. The observations of Rutherford's gold foil experiment. What are the observations? The first, he saw that about 99% of the alpha particle passed through the gold foil and did not deviate from its path. See, they are going straight here. They are not deviated. Second, some particles got deviated from their path by a very small angle. Very small. And the third, a very small number of particles did not pass through the foil and got bounced back. It is not passed through the foil only, it got bounced back. These are the three observations of the Rutherford gold foil experiment. So the conclusions of Rutherford's gold foil scattering experiment. Number 1. Since most of the alpha particle passed undeviated, it appears that the space inside the atom is empty. Because the particle can pass, the alpha particle can pass undeviated. That means it is not getting obstructed by anything. It is not getting any obstruction. So they are passing undeviated. That means the space inside the atom is empty. A small number of particles deviated, as I told you, through a small angle, which implies that positive particles occupy a very small space. And most likely they are concentrated in a small region, and that is why when the alpha particle, which is the positively charged particle, is coming and striking that place, they are deviated a little bit. Okay, that means the conclusion is that a very small space is occupied by the alpha positive particle, and that is concentrated in a small region. Okay. And the third one, a very small number of particles were bounced back, which indicates that the positive charge and the mass of the atom is concentrated in a very small volume, and the mass is heavy enough to deflect the alpha particle. Okay. There is something inside the atom and that mass is heavy enough to deflect the alpha particle, to rebound back the alpha particle. Okay, these three conclusions they are getting from the Rutherford-Goldfield experiment. So based on the Goldfield scattering experiment, the conclusions derived therefrom, Rutherford proposed a much improved model of atom which was based on two central pivots. Number one, nucleus is positively charged and located centrally. Okay. Number two, the electrons are revolving around in it planetary motion. This very two important discovery, very two important points. Nucleus is positively charged and located centrally. And number two, the electrons are revolving around it in planetary motion. So the main features of this model are, in an atom, most of the mass is concentrated at the nucleus. So that is proton. One is proton, the other one is, we don't know. Nucleus is positively charged and is surrounded by electrons. The electrons move around the nucleus at high speed in a planetary motion. Nucleus diameter is much smaller as compared to the atom diameter. The atom, in compared to the atomic diameter, the diameter of the nucleus is very small. Attractive force is responsible for holding the nucleus and electron. There is an attractive force which is responsible for holding the nucleus and the electron. The number of electrons is equal to the number of protons. Now, Rutherford's model of atom was also not foolproof and was improved upon by Niels Bohr, which is known as Bohr's model of atom. Now, this is the end of lecture 1. In the next lecture, we shall discuss about Bohr's model of atom and followed up developments.